Welcome to the Listen and Sleep channel. Get comfortable. Allow your breathing to become slow and deep. Today we'll journey to the origins of the most ancient science of consciousness, to texts written thousands of years ago that remain surprisingly relevant today. Close your eyes and let the words flow through your awareness like a quiet stream through a forest. No need to remember, no need to analyze. Just listen and allow wisdom to touch the depths of your being. Imagine ancient India, long before our era. Time flowed differently then, measured like the flow of great rivers. There was no hurry, no information noise, no million distracting factors. People lived closer to nature, closer to themselves, closer to silence. And in this silence, some began to notice things that escape the busy mind. Sages withdrew to forests, to mountain caves, to the banks of sacred rivers. They sat motionless, observing, not the world around them, but the world within. They watched their mind the way a scientist looks through a microscope, studying cells. Only their microscope was consciousness itself, studying itself. And they made discoveries about how the mind works, why we suffer, how to find peace. These discoveries were passed down orally, from teacher to student, for millennia. Each generation added their experience, their observations. Knowledge grew, deepened, became more precise, but it remained scattered like precious gems strewn across a shore. And then one day appeared a man named Patanjali. Very little is known about him. Some say he lived 2,000 years ago. Others say 4,000. Legend tells that he was an incarnation of the cosmic serpent Ananta, who holds the universe. But what matters is not who he was, but what he did. He gathered all the knowledge about yoga accumulated over centuries and systematized it. He created a map for the inner journey. Patanjali wrote a text called the Yoga Sutras. The word sutra means thread. Imagine beads strung on a thread. Each bead is a sutra, a short saying, sometimes just a few words. But behind these words lies an ocean of meaning. The sutras are written so concisely that without a teacher, they're difficult to understand. Each word is chosen with surgical precision. Nothing extra, nothing random. In total, the Yoga Sutras contain 195 such threads of wisdom, divided into 4 chapters. The first chapter is about the nature of mind and the goal of yoga. The second about the path of practice. The third about the superpowers that appear along the way. The fourth about final liberation. But we won't rush. We'll walk this path slowly, thoughtfully, pausing to feel, not just understand. Before speaking of the sutras, it's important to understand, what is yoga? Today, when people hear this word, they think of flexible bodies in complex poses, of studios with mirrors, of mats and leggings. But this is just a tiny part, not even the most important. The yoga Patanjali speaks of is a science of consciousness. It's a systematic method of knowing yourself and liberating yourself from suffering. The word yoga itself comes from the root yuji, which means to join, to unite. Unite what? Individual consciousness with universal consciousness, the temporary with the eternal. That part of you that changes, body, thoughts, emotions, with that which is unchanging, with pure awareness. Yoga is a return home to your true nature. Patanjali didn't invent yoga. He didn't create a new system. He simply wrote down what already existed, gave it structure, made it accessible. Like an encyclopedia compiler doesn't create knowledge, but organizes it. And his work became the foundation on which all subsequent schools of yoga grew. But why do we need this now, in the 21st century? Is our life anything like the life of ancient sages? We don't sit in caves. We live in cities. We don't meditate 12 hours a day. We work, raise children, solve endless tasks. What do ancient texts have to do with our reality? The most direct relationship. Because the human mind hasn't changed. Technology has changed. Lifestyle has changed. But the fundamental nature of consciousness remains the same. We still suffer from the same things: fear, desire, anger, worry. We still seek peace, happiness, meaning. And the methods described by Patanjali work now just as they worked thousands of years ago. Moreover, perhaps these methods are needed now more than ever. The world has sped up. Information has multiplied 1,000,000 times. Distracting factors are countless. Our mind is constantly overloaded, constantly tense, constantly jumping between past and future. Patanjali's yoga offers a way to bring the mind home, to the present moment, to peace. There's a beautiful metaphor. Imagine a lake. When wind blows, waves appear on the surface. The water becomes murky, silt rises from the bottom. You can't see through such water. But when the wind calms, the waves settle, the silt settles, the water becomes clear, and then you can see the bottom, stones, seaweed, fish, sunlight penetrating into the depth. The mind is like this lake, constantly agitated by thoughts, emotions, desires, fears. And through this ripple, we cannot see truth, cannot see our real nature. Yoga is a way to calm the waves. And when the mind becomes quiet, what was always there but hidden is revealed. Clarity, peace, understanding. Here's a practice you can try right now. Close your eyes and imagine your consciousness as the sky. Thoughts are clouds that float across this sky. Some clouds are big and dark, anxious thoughts. Some are light and white, pleasant thoughts. But all of them are just clouds. They come and go, but the sky remains. It doesn't change depending on what clouds float across it. Try to be the sky, not the clouds. Simply observe how thoughts come and go without clinging to them. This is the beginning of yoga. Not complex poses, not mystical experiences, simply the ability to observe yourself, to create space between yourself and your thoughts, to understand, I am not my thoughts. I am the one who observes thoughts. Patanjali begins his sutras with the most important one. It's short, just 3 words in Sanskrit, but contains the entire essence. Yoga Chitta-vritti-nirodha. Yoga is the cessation of the fluctuations of the mind. Or, to put it simply, yoga is when the mind becomes quiet. Every word here is important. Chitta is not just the mind in the ordinary sense. It's the entire field of consciousness, including the subconscious, memory, emotions, all the content of the inner world. Vritti are waves, fluctuations, modifications. like ripples on water. Nirodha is cessation, calming but not suppression. Not to freeze the lake, turning water into ice, but to let the waves naturally settle. Why is it so important to calm the mind? Because when the mind is calm, you see things as they are. When the mind is agitated, you see distortedly through the prism of your desires, fears, past experience. A restless mind projects its fantasies onto reality. A calm mind reflects reality like a clean mirror. Patanjali identifies 5 main types of mind waves. The first is right knowledge, pramana. This is when you see things correctly, based on direct perception, logic, or the testimony of authorities. This is a good wave, but still a wave. Even right knowledge creates ripples on the surface of consciousness. The second is wrong knowledge, viparya. This is when you see incorrectly. You mistake a rope for a snake in the dark. You think someone offended you when they were just busy. Most of our suffering comes from wrong perception of reality. The third is fantasy, vikalpa. This is when you create images in your mind that don't exist in reality. Dreams, plans, future scenarios that will never happen. The mind loves to create stories. This can be pleasant, but it takes you away from the present moment. The fourth is sleep, nidra. Even sleep is a modification of consciousness, a kind of wave, though a special one. In sleep, there is content, dreams, absence of awareness. Deep, dreamless sleep is closest to the peace of yoga, but it's an unconscious peace. The fifth is memory, smriti. This is when past impressions surface in the mind. Memory is necessary for life, but when it dominates, you live in the past, not in the present. Constantly rehashing old events, old hurts, old joys. All these waves are not bad in themselves. They're part of the mind's functioning. The problem is not that they exist, but that we identify with them. We think we are these waves. I am my thought. I am my emotion. I am my memory. And then we drown in the ocean of mental fluctuations. Yoga offers something different. Not to fight the waves, not to suppress them, but to learn to be the one who observes the waves. Consciousness that remains calm, regardless of content. Like a movie screen doesn't change depending on what film is shown on it. Try this practice. During the day, when you notice a strong thought or emotion, stop for a second. Name it. Here's fear. Here's anger. Here's desire. Here's memory. Just name and observe. Don't try to change. Don't judge. Don't analyze. Just watch. This creates a small distance between you and the wave. And in that distance is freedom. Patanjali doesn't just describe the problem. He offers a solution. Two main practices that, like two wings of a bird, allow you to soar above the waves of mind. The first is called Abhyasa. The second is Vairagya, constant practice and non-attachment. Abhyasa means effort directed toward calming the mind. It's not a one-time attempt, but regular, persistent practice. Imagine you're learning to play a musical instrument. To pick up a guitar once and expect to play beautifully is naive. You need months, years of daily exercises. So it is with the mind. Abhyasa must be prolonged, uninterrupted, and performed with devotion. Prolonged, not a week, not a month, but as long as needed. Uninterrupted, every day, without big breaks. And with devotion, not mechanically, but consciously, with attention, with respect for the practice. It's like watering a plant. If you water it once, very abundantly, then forget about it for a month, the plant will die. But if you water a little every day, it will grow. So, it is with consciousness. 10 minutes of meditation every day is better than 2 hours once a week. The second practice is Vairagya, non-attachment. This is not indifference, not refusal of life. This is inner freedom from results. You practice not for achieving something, not for special experiences, not for enlightenment. You practice for the sake of practice itself. Like a river flows not to reach the ocean. It simply flows. And in this flowing, it's already free. When there's attachment to results, tension arises. Why am I not enlightened yet? Why is my mind still restless? I've been meditating for 3 months already. Where's the effect? This desire for results itself becomes a wave that prevents calming. The paradox is that peace comes when you stop chasing it. Vairagya also means non-attachment to sense objects, not refusal of pleasures, but inner independence from them. You can enjoy delicious food, beautiful music, pleasant conversation. But if these are absent, you don't suffer. You're not dependent on external sources of happiness. Your joy comes from within. There's a story about a king who wanted to learn yoga. He came to a sage and said, "Teach me renunciation. I'll leave the kingdom, go to the forest." The sage replied, "There's no need to leave the kingdom. Rule it, but don't be attached. Be like the lotus that grows in muddy water, but remains clean." The king didn't understand and left. A few years later, he returned, having renounced everything, living in poverty. "Tell me, have I achieved renunciation?" The sage asked. "If I give you back your kingdom right now, could you refuse?" The king thought and understood. He was still attached, only now to the image of one who has renounced. True renunciation is not in the external, but in the internal. You can live in luxury and be free. You can live in a cave and be a slave to desires. Vairagya is a state of mind, not a lifestyle. Try practicing Vairagya in small things. When you do something today, do it well. Invest all your energy, but don't attach to praise or results. Cook dinner with love, not expecting admiration. Do work with quality, not worrying about promotion. Help someone, not expecting gratitude. This is training in inner freedom. Abhyasa and Vairagya work together. Abhyasa is the effort to move forward. Vairagya is the ability to let go. Inhale and exhale, tension and relaxation, day and night. One without the other is incomplete. Only effort without letting go leads to tension and burnout. Only letting go without effort leads to laziness and stagnation. But together, they create a dynamic balance in which growth is possible. Imagine you're climbing a mountain. Abhyasa is the steps you take. Vairagya is the ability not to cling to the rocks you've already passed, not to constantly think, how much is left to the summit? Simply to walk, step by step, enjoying the journey itself, the view, the air, the effort of muscles, the beating of heart. A practice for every day. In the morning, When you wake up, remember Abhyasa. Remind yourself of the intention to practice mindfulness today. It can be 10 minutes of meditation. It can simply be the intention to be attentive to breath during the day. In the evening, before sleep, remember Vairagya. Let go of the day that passed. Everything that was, good and bad, let go. Don't carry it into tomorrow. Each evening is a little death. Each morning a little birth. But how exactly to practice? Patanjali doesn't leave us without a map. He describes a system that became classic, the 8 limbs of yoga. This is not a ladder where you need to completely master one step before moving to the next. It's rather 8 aspects of one practice, 8 facets of one precious stone. Imagine a lotus flower with 8 petals. All petals grow from one center. All are connected to each other. Remove one petal, and the flower loses symmetry. So the 8 limbs of yoga make up a single whole. You can work with all simultaneously at different levels of depth. The first limb is called Yama. These are ethical principles of interacting with the external world. How you relate to other people, to living beings, to the world as a whole. If the foundation of behavior is wrong, the entire building of yoga will be shaky. The second limb is Niyama. These are internal disciplines, how you relate to yourself, care for the purity of body and mind, cultivation of contentment, self-discipline, self-study, dedication to the higher. The third limb is asana, what most people now consider yoga, physical poses. But Patanjali devotes just one sutra to them. Asana should be sthira and sukha, steady and comfortable. The goal is not acrobatics, but preparing the body for prolonged sitting in meditation without discomfort. The fourth limb is pranayama, control of breath. Prana means life energy, and yama means control. Through breath, we can influence the mind, because breath is a bridge between body and consciousness. The fifth limb is Pratyahara, withdrawal of senses from external objects. Like a turtle pulls its head and limbs under its shell, so the yogi withdraws attention from the external world inward. The sixth limb is Dharana, concentration, the ability to hold attention on one object without distraction. It can be breath, an image, a mantra, a point on the wall, anything. The seventh limb is dhyana, meditation. When concentration becomes continuous, it turns into meditation. The stream of attention flows to the object without effort, like a river flows to the sea. The eighth limb is samadhi, complete absorption. The distinction between the meditator, the process of meditation, and the object of meditation disappears. Only pure experience of unity remains. These 8 limbs lead from the most gross, external level to the most subtle, internal. From how we act in the world to who we are in the depth of being. The path is long, but each step on it brings its fruits. You don't need to wait for the end to get benefits. The first limb, Yama, consists of 5 principles. The first and most important is ahimsa, non-violence. This is not simply refusal of physical violence. It's much deeper. Ahimsa in thoughts, not wishing harm to others. Ahimsa in words, not saying what wounds. Ahimsa in actions, not causing harm to people, animals, or yourself. Ahimsa begins with yourself. Many people are very cruel to themselves. They criticize themselves, call themselves bad words, ignore the body's needs, overload themselves to exhaustion. This is also violence. The first step of ahimsa is to learn to treat yourself with kindness. Then ahimsa spreads to others. When someone irritates you, instead of anger, try to understand. Everyone has their reasons for acting as they act. Everyone has their pain. When you see the pain behind behavior, anger melts, compassion remains. The second principle is satya, truthfulness. Speak truth. Live in truth. But Patanjali adds an important caveat. Truth must not cause harm. If your truth wounds, it's better to remain silent. Satya and ahimsa work together. Truth that destroys is not true truth. The practice of satya begins with honesty before yourself. Don't deceive yourself. Don't rationalize your weaknesses. Don't pretend everything's fine when it's not. Be honest about your feelings, motives, fears. When you're honest with yourself, it's easier to be honest with others. The third principle is asteya, non-stealing. Don't take what is not freely given to you. This is obvious regarding material things, but asteya also applies to the immaterial. Don't steal others' time with unnecessary chatter. Don't appropriate others' ideas, passing them off as your own. Don't take others' energy with your endless complaints. Asteya also means be content with what you have. Greed is a form of stealing from the future. You take more than you need now, out of fear that later there won't be any. Contentment is the antidote to greed. The fourth principle is brahmacharya. This word is often translated as celibacy, but that's too narrow. Brahma means the divine. Charya means movement toward. Brahmacharya is movement toward the divine, using energy wisely. Not wasting life force on emptiness, but directing it toward what's important. This applies not only to sexual energy, though to that too. It's about not squandering yourself on useless conversations, endless scrolling through social media, overeating, excess entertainment. Every time you indulge an impulse without checking if you really need it, you lose energy. Brahmacharya is conservation of energy for what's important. The fifth principle is aparigraha, non-hoarding. Don't accumulate more than needed. Don't cling to things. Don't define yourself through what you own. Everything you own, to some degree, owns you, requires attention, care, space, worry about its safety. Aparigraha brings lightness. When you have fewer things, you have more freedom, fewer worries, fewer attachments, less fear of losing. This doesn't mean living in poverty. It means having what you need and not clinging to what you have. Here's a simple practice of aparigraha. Once a month, go through your home and find things you haven't used in 6 months. Give them away. Not because they're bad, but because they no longer serve you. Let them serve someone else. Feel the liberation that comes with letting go. These 5 principles of Yama are not commandments handed down from above. They're observations of wise people about what brings suffering and what brings peace. When you practice ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, and aparigraha, your life becomes simpler, clearer, calmer. External conflicts decrease because you don't create reasons for conflicts. Inner peace deepens because conscience is clear. But Yama is only half the foundation. The second half is called Niyama. If Yama is about how you relate to the world, Niyama is about how you relate to yourself. 5 internal disciplines that create the basis for spiritual growth. The first of them is Shaucha, purity. This begins with physical purity. Clean body, clean clothes, clean space. Why is this important for yoga? Because the external influence the internal. When there's disorder around, there's disorder in the mind too. When the body is dirty, the mind is heavy. Purity is respect for the body as a temple of spirit. But Shaucha doesn't stop at the physical. There's purity of food, eating simple, fresh, healthy food. Food influences the mind. Heavy, processed food makes the mind heavy. Light, fresh food makes the mind clear. Ancient yogis said, "You are what you eat, not only in body, but in mind." There's purity of thoughts. This is the most subtle level of Shaucha. Notice what thoughts come to mind. If they're thoughts of envy, malice, judgment, fear, these are pollutants. Don't suppress them. Don't fight them. Just notice and let go. Like clouds float across the sky, so let dirty thoughts float by without leaving a trace. A practice of Shaucha for every day. In the morning, waking up, take a shower consciously. Feel how water washes away not only dirt from the body, but also remnants of dreams accumulated during the night. Imagine that with the water, everything unnecessary leaves. This is a purification ritual. Then look at your dwelling. One object that's out of place, return to its place. One corner that hasn't been cleaned in a while, put in order. Small actions, but they have an effect. The second niyama is santosha, contentment. This is perhaps the most important and most difficult practice. To be content with what is, not to constantly want more, better, different, to accept life as it is right now. This doesn't mean not striving for improvement. You can work on yourself, move toward goals, but inside, be at peace with the present moment. Don't postpone happiness for later. Don't tell yourself, "I'll be happy when I get a promotion, when I find a partner, when I lose weight." Happiness is not in future achievement. It's here, in the ability to value what already is. There's an old story. A poor peasant worked in the field and was happy. A rich merchant passed by and was surprised. "How can you rejoice when you have so little?" The peasant answered, "I have health to work. I have land that feeds me. I have sky above my head and sun that warms. What more to wish for?" The merchant thought. He had much, but was still unhappy because he wanted even more. Santosha is not about quantity. It's about attitude. You can have little and be content. You can have much and be dissatisfied. It's all about where your attention is, on what's missing or on what is. A practice of santosha. Every evening before sleep, remember 3 things you're grateful for today. Not grand events, but simple things. A delicious meal, a stranger's smile, a warm bed. Train your mind to notice the good. This is not self-deception, not ignoring problems. This is a choice of focus. Problems will always be there, but good is always there too. What do you choose to see? The third niyama is tapas, inner fire. This word is often translated as asceticism, but that's not quite right. Tapas is self-discipline, voluntary acceptance of difficulties for growth. It's when you get up early, though, you want to sleep. When you meditate, though, the mind resists. When you choose the useful instead of the pleasant. Tapa is like fire that burns impurities. Gold is purified in fire. So character is purified in tapas. Every time you do something difficult, something that requires effort of will, you become stronger. Not physically, but internally. The strength of intention grows, the ability to do what you decided. But it's important to understand, tapas should not be violence against yourself. It's not torture of the body, not exhaustion to the limit. It's reasonable tension that leads to growth. Like in a gym, you lift a weight that's heavy, but not so much as to injure yourself. So in tapas, effort should be sufficient for growth, but not destructive. The practice of tapas can be very simple. Choose one habit you want to change. Maybe it's the habit of postponing tasks. Maybe the habit of eating sweets before bed. Maybe the habit of mindlessly scrolling through your phone. Choose one and work with it for a month. Every day do the opposite. It will be hard the first days. Then it will get easier. This is tapas in action. The fourth niyama is svadhyaya, self-study. This is two parts of one practice. The first part is study of sacred texts, wisdom of the ancients. Read scriptures, listen to teachers, reflect on deep truths. This nourishes the mind with higher ideas, directs attention to what's important. The second part is study of yourself, observation of your thoughts, emotions, reactions, behavior patterns. It's like being a scientist who studies yourself. Why did I get angry in this situation? What's hidden behind it? Fear, resentment, pride. Where does this habit of reacting exactly this way come from? Svadhyaya requires honesty. Most people don't want to look at their shadows, at dark sides of personality. It's easier to blame others, easier not to notice your own shortcomings. But growth is possible only through awareness. You can't change what you don't see. There's a practice that helps with svadhyaya. Keeping a journal. Every evening, write about the day, not just what happened, but how you reacted. When did you feel anger? When joy? When fear? What triggered these emotions? Over time, you'll begin to see patterns. This is self-knowledge. The fifth niyama is Ishvara Pranidhana, dedication to the higher. Ishvara means higher consciousness, the divine, that which is greater than you. Pranidhana is surrender, dedication. This is recognition that you're not the center of the universe, that there's a power greater than your little ego. This is not necessarily a religious practice. You don't need to believe in a specific God. You can dedicate yourself to truth, love, service, nature, the universe. The essence is to go beyond egocentricity, to live not only for yourself, but for something greater. When you dedicate your actions to the higher, they're filled with different meaning. You do work, not only for salary, but as service. You raise children, not only because it's your duty, but as a sacred trust. You help others not to feel good about yourself, but because it's right. a practice of Ishvara Pranidhana. Before beginning the day, before an important task, say to yourself, I dedicate this, and name what you dedicate it to the universe, to higher good, to love, to truth. This is a small ritual, but it changes the mind's tuning. You cease to be the doer. You become an instrument. And in this is freedom and the burden of results. Yama and Niyama together create the ethical foundation of yoga. Without this foundation, further practices won't be effective. You can stand on your head for hours. You can breathe with complex techniques. But if there's no purity in relationships with the world and yourself, the mind won't calm down. Now we move to the next limb, asana. The modern world is obsessed with asanas. Yoga studios are full of people twisting into unimaginable poses. Magazines show beautiful bodies in beautiful poses against mountains and oceans. A huge industry has grown. And somewhere in this noise, the essence was lost. Patanjali devotes just 3 sutras to asanas, 3 short sayings. The first says, asana should be sthira, and sukha, steady and comfortable. The second, this is achieved by relaxing effort and meditating on the infinite. The third, then dualities, no longer affect you. Do you understand? Asana is not about acrobatics. It's about the ability to sit motionless for a long time without discomfort in order to meditate. The body should be healthy and flexible so as not to distract the mind. That's all. The rest are additions of later yoga schools. But this doesn't mean physical practice isn't important. It's very important. Western people spend most of the day sitting. The back hurts, shoulders are tight, breathing is shallow. The body is a temple of spirit, but we've turned it into a prison. Asanas help liberate the body, return to it its natural grace and strength. When you practice asanas, do it consciously. Don't mechanically repeat movements. Feel every muscle, every stretch, every tension. Breathe into the pose. Listen to the body. It speaks to you if you're ready to listen. Pain says stop. Comfortable stretching says continue. Trembling says you're at the limit. Be careful. Asana is also a practice of presence. When you're in a difficult pose, the mind can't wander. It must be here and now, otherwise you'll fall or hurt yourself. This is meditation in movement. And the paradox is that the more you relax in the pose, the easier it becomes. Struggle creates tension. Acceptance creates ease. After asanas comes pranayama. Prana is life energy. Yama is control, expansion. Pranayama is work with breath, and through breath with energy. Breath is unique. It's the only process in the body that's simultaneously automatic and controllable. You can breathe without thinking about it, but you can also consciously change the breath. And this makes breath a bridge between the conscious and unconscious, between body and mind. When the mind is agitated, breath is fast and shallow. When the mind is calm, breath is slow and deep. But the connection works in the opposite direction too. Change the breath, the state of mind changes. There's a story about a sage to whom a man came in anger. The sage said, "Before you speak, sit and take 10 slow inhales and exhales." The man sat, began to breathe. By the 10th inhale, the anger had dissipated. He got up and said, "Thank you. I no longer need your help." The sage smiled. Breath is the greatest teacher. Pranayama is not simply deep breathing. It's a whole science with many techniques. There's breath that warms. There's breath that cools. There's breath that invigorates. There's breath that calms. Different techniques for different purposes. But you need to start with the simple, with observation of breath. Just sit comfortably, close your eyes, and observe how air enters and exits. Don't change the breath, just watch. Cool air enters through nostrils, warm exits. Chest rises, falls. Belly expands, contracts. Just observe. This seems simple, but try it. In a minute, you'll find that the mind has run away. You're thinking about work, about plans, about the past. When you notice, gently return attention to breath, again and again. This is attention training. This is the beginning of meditation. When you learn to simply observe breath, you can move to simple techniques. One of the most useful for modern people is breath with lengthened exhale. Inhale for a count of 4. Exhale for a count of 8. This activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and recovery system. Do this 5 minutes before sleep, and sleep will become deeper. Another technique is equal breathing. Inhale for 4. Exhale for 4. Pause after inhale for 4. Pause after exhale for 4. A square of breath. This balances the nervous system, brings the mind into equilibrium. Do this when you feel anxiety or overexcitement. Important. Pranayama needs to be practiced carefully. Breath is a powerful tool. Wrong practice can harm. If you have problems with heart, pressure, lungs, consult with a teacher. Start small. Never hold breath to the point of discomfort. Always practice with respect for the body. The next limb is Pratyahara, withdrawal of senses. Imagine a turtle. When there's danger, it pulls its head and legs under the shell. From outside, nothing is visible, only a hard shell. So the yogi learns to withdraw senses from external objects inward. Usually our senses are directed outward. Eyes seek beauty. Ears catch interesting sounds. Nose reaches for pleasant smells. Tongue craves tastes. Skin seeks pleasant touches. We live through sense organs, constantly consuming impressions from outside. This makes us dependent on the external world. Happiness depends on what we see, hear, feel. If there's something pleasant around, we're happy. If something unpleasant, we suffer. We're like puppets jerked by the strings of external stimuli. There's no internal stability. Pratyahara is not to close yourself off from the world, not to become insensitive. It's to learn to control attention. Senses continue to function, but you decide where to direct attention. Eyes see, but you don't cling with your gaze to every movement. Ears hear, but you don't get distracted by every sound. The modern world makes pratyahara more and more necessary and more difficult. We live in constant bombardment of stimuli. Screens everywhere, sounds everywhere. Advertising screams from every corner. Notifications on phone. Music in stores. Our senses are overloaded. exhausted. The practice of Pratyahara begins with creating periods of sensory rest. Turn off phone for an hour. Sit in silence, without music, without television. Close your eyes and be without visual stimuli. The first minutes there will be restlessness, perhaps boredom. The mind will demand entertainment. But if you endure, relief will come. Like if you drop a heavy backpack after a long journey. Another practice of Pratyahara is conscious perception. Instead of absorbing impressions automatically, do it consciously. When you eat, only eat. Don't watch television, don't read. Just feel the taste, texture, smell of food. When you listen to music, only listen. Don't do something else in parallel. Give the music all your attention. This seems simple, but we've forgotten how to do it. We are constantly multitasking. We eat and watch screens. We walk and listen to podcasts. We talk and check phones. We're nowhere fully present. Pratyahara returns the ability to be fully where you are. There's a classic practice of Pratyahara, Shavasana, corpse pose. You lie on your back, close your eyes. Systematically relax every part of body. Start with toes, rise to crown. Release tension everywhere. Then lie motionless, observing internal sensations. This is rest for the nervous system, for senses, for mind. When senses rest from external objects, the inner world opens. You begin to feel subtle energies in body. Hear internal sounds. See internal light. This is not hallucination. This is perception of what was always there, but was drowned out by noise of the external world. With practice of Pratyahara comes the next limb, Dharana, concentration. The mind of an ordinary person is like a drunken monkey stung by a scorpion. It jumps from thought to thought, not staying on anything. Plans, memories, fantasies, worries, all mixed in a chaotic stream. Dharana is the ability to hold the mind on one object, not for a minute, but for a long time. The object can be external, a candle flame, a point on the wall, an image of a deity. It can be internal, breath, mantra, chakra, sensation in body. It doesn't matter what. what matters is one pointedness of attention. Why is this important? Because a scattered mind is weak. When attention jumps around, energy is dispersed. But when attention is focused, power appears. Like sunlight is scattered, it's just warm. But pass it through a lens, focus it to a point, and it can ignite fire. So, a focused mind possesses incredible power. Dharana is training. Like you train muscles in a gym, so you train attention in meditation. Start small. Place a burning candle before you. Sit comfortably, back straight. Look at the flame without blinking. When eyes get tired, close them and hold the image of flame in mind. When the image disappears, open eyes and look again. At first, the mind will get distracted every few seconds. This is normal. Don't scold yourself. Just notice when you've left and return. Again and again. This is the practice. Not in never getting distracted, but in noticing distraction and returning. Another practice of Dharana is concentration on breath. This can be done anywhere. You don't need candles or special conditions. Just count breaths. Inhale, 1. Exhale, 2. Inhale, 3. Exhale, 4. Up to 10. Then start again. When you lose count, and you will, start from 1. Seems simple? Try to count to 10 without getting distracted even once. Most people can't. The mind runs away between 3 and 4. Suddenly, you remember you need to buy milk. Or you start thinking whether you're doing the practice correctly. Or you notice an itch in your leg. Endless distractions. But with practice, it gets easier. The brain is plastic. Neural pathways you use are strengthened. The path of attention, of returning to the object, becomes more and more well-trodden. After months of practice, you'll find you can hold attention for minutes, then tens of minutes, then hours. And this changes life. When you have developed ability to concentrate, everything becomes easier. Work gets done faster and better. Reading becomes deeper. Conversations richer because you're really listening. Presence becomes full. This is a superpower in a world of distraction. When Dharana deepens, it naturally transitions to the next limb, Dhyana, meditation. what's the difference? In Dharana, there's effort. You hold attention. Again and again, you return it to the object. It's like rowing against current, requires constant tension. In Dhyana, effort disappears. Attention flows to the object naturally, like a river flows to the sea. There's no struggle, no returning, because there's no leaving. The stream of attention is continuous, calm, easy. It's not you meditating. Meditation is happening. Imagine learning to ride a bicycle. At first, you're constantly falling. You need to think about balance, about pedals, about handlebars. This is Dharana. But at some moment, something clicks. The body understands, and you simply ride, not thinking how you're doing it. This is Dhyana. Dhyana is not achieved through effort. It happens when effort is released. This is the paradox of yoga. You try, practice dharana for months, years, and then comes a moment when you need to let go of trying, and then meditation comes. In meditation, the quality of consciousness changes. Usually you perceive the world through a filter of thoughts. You see a tree and think, beautiful tree. It's an oak. I remember one like this grew at grandmother's. You don't see the tree directly. You see your thoughts about it. In Dhyana, the filter thins. You begin to perceive directly, without the intermediary of thoughts. This is hard to describe in words, because words are also thoughts. This needs to be experienced. But imagine that all your life you looked at the world through murky glass, and suddenly the glass became clean. Colors are brighter, forms clearer, everything more alive. So meditation purifies perception. Objects of meditation can be different. You can meditate on the external, a flame, an image, a yantra. You can on the internal, a chakra, a sound, light. You can on the abstract, love, compassion, emptiness. You can on consciousness itself. Ancient teachers advise beginning with a gross object and gradually moving to the subtle. First breath. It's easy to feel. Then sensation of warmth in body, more subtle. Then space between thoughts, even more subtle. Then pure awareness, most subtle. There's a practice called So-Ham. This is observation of breath with internal sound. Inhale, So. Exhale, Ham. Don't say aloud, only listen inside. So, Ham in Sanskrit means I am that. I am pure consciousness. With each breath, you remind yourself of true nature. When you practice So-Ham long enough, the sound begins to repeat itself. You're no longer repeating it, it's sounding. And at some moment, even words disappear. Only breath remains. Only presence. Only is. This is the threshold of Dhyana. In meditation, time flows differently. You sit for an hour. It seems 5 minutes passed. Or vice versa, 5 minutes seem like eternity. Linear time dissolves. Only now remains infinite, deep, full. Thoughts in meditation don't disappear completely. They still come, but the relationship to them changes. Before, you were in the center of a hurricane of thoughts, thrown from side to side. Now you're in the center, in the calm eye of the hurricane. Thoughts swirl around, but don't touch you. This is not insensitivity. On the contrary, in meditation, feelings are sharpened, but they don't control you. Joy comes, you feel it, but don't cling. Sadness comes, you acknowledge it, but don't drown. Everything comes and goes like waves on the surface of ocean, and you are the ocean. Regular practice of meditation changes the brain. This is not just philosophy, it's scientific fact. Studies show that in long-time meditators, areas of brain responsible for attention, emotional regulation, self-awareness are physically changed. Ancient yogis knew this intuitively. Modern science confirms it. When Dhyana deepens maximally, it transitions to Samadhi, the eighth and final limb. Samadhi is often translated as enlightenment, but that's not quite accurate. Literally, it means to put together, to unite. Union of what? Of the observer, the process of observation, and the observed. Subject, action, and object. All becomes one. In ordinary consciousness, there's separation. I look at a tree. There's me. There's the action of looking. There's the tree. 3 separate things. In Samadhi, this separation disappears. There's no observer separate from the observed. There's only experience without boundaries. Imagine a drop falling into the ocean. At the moment of falling, there's a drop and ocean, too. But then the drop dissolves. Where is the drop now? It became the ocean. It didn't disappear. It expanded to the ocean. So in Samadhi, individual consciousness expands, encompasses everything. Patanjali distinguishes different types of samadhi. Savikalpa samadhi, with thought. You still perceive the object of meditation, but boundaries are blurred. Nirvikalpa samadhi, without thought. Even the object disappears. Only pure consciousness, without content, remains. There's also samprajnata samadhi, with cognition. You know you're in samadhi. There's memory of this experience. Asamprajnata samadhi, without cognition. This is beyond everything. There's no knower, no knowledge, only being. This is not trance, not unconsciousness. This is super-consciousness, the highest degree of awareness. Usually we're aware of a small piece of reality. In Samadhi, you're aware of all reality. But this awareness is without object. Light is aware of itself. Samadhi is not a permanent state. You enter it and exit. At first, it lasts seconds, then minutes, hours. But when you exit, something changes forever. Like if you saw the ocean for the first time in life. You returned to the city, but memory of ocean remains. It changes you. With each entry into Samadhi, deep imprints in consciousness are erased. Old wounds heal. Deep fears dissolve. You become more and more whole, more and more free. This is a process, not a one-time event. The final goal is Kaivalya, absolute freedom. This is when Samadhi becomes a natural state. You live in the world. You act, work, love, but inside you unchangingly abide in a state of unity. This is liberation while living. But on the path to this highest state, there are obstacles. Patanjali calls them Kleshas, causes of suffering. There are 5 of them, and they're deeply rooted in human psyche. Understanding Kleshas helps recognize them in yourself and begin to free yourself. The first and root klesha is avidya, ignorance, not simply absence of knowledge, but fundamental delusion about the nature of reality. We take the temporary for eternal, impure for pure, suffering for pleasure, not self for self. This is the basis of all other sufferings. What does it mean to take not self for self? You think I am this body, but body changes, ages, will die. Can the I be that which changes? You think I am this mind, thoughts, emotions, but they're also fluid, come and go. Can the I be that which is impermanent? The true I, according to yoga, is pure consciousness that observes body, mind, thoughts, but is not them. It's unchanging, eternal, beyond birth and death. But we've forgotten this. We've identified with body-mind. This is avidya. From avidya is born the second klesha, asmita, sense of separate ego. When you've forgotten your true nature as infinite consciousness, you create a false I, small, separate, frightened. This I has boundaries, has history, has needs. Ego is not bad in itself. It's necessary for functioning in the world. You need to know where you end and another begins. The problem is not in the existence of ego, but in complete identification with it. When you think ego is all you are. From asmita is born the third klesha, raga, attachment, desire. The small separate I feels incomplete. It seeks completion in objects, people, experiences. It thinks, if I get this, I'll be happy. If I achieve that, I'll be whole. Raga is not desire itself. Desire is natural. You want to eat when hungry. You want warmth when cold. These are healthy desires. Raga is when you attach to the object of desire. You think you can't be happy without it. You make happiness dependent on external. The fourth klesha is dvesha, aversion, avoidance. The flip side of raga. If raga is attraction to pleasant, dvesha is repulsion from unpleasant. Don't want pain, don't want suffering, don't want loneliness. All of life becomes avoidance. Raga and dvesha together create a swing. You chase the pleasant, Run from the unpleasant. Back and forth, back and forth. You never stop in the center, in peace. This is exhausting. This is a source of constant worry. The fifth klesha is abhinivesha, clinging to life, fear of death. This is the deepest, most instinctive klesha. Even a worm being cut by a shovel writhes, trying to live. Fear of death doesn't require experience of dying. It's built into existence itself. Why do we fear death so much? Because we identify with body. If I am this body, then death of body is my death, my end. But if I am consciousness that uses body as an instrument, death is simply a change of instrument, not an end, but a transition. These 5 kleshas work together, supporting each other. Avidya creates asmita. Asmita creates raga and dvesha. Raga and dvesha intensify fear of loss, abhinivesha. And abhinivesha reinforces avidya, making you cling even tighter to the illusion of separate I. How to free yourself from kleshas? Patanjali says, gross kleshas are eliminated through meditation, subtle ones through returning to source. Gross is when klesha is active, controls your behavior. You're in anger, in passion, in fear. Subtle are seeds, potentiality. They sleep, but can awaken. When you notice a klesha in action, simply observe. Here's raga. I want this pastry, though I'm not hungry. Here's dvesha. I don't want to go to this meeting. I'm avoiding. Here's asmita. I'm offended because my merits weren't recognized. Just see. Name. Don't judge. Don't fight. The light of awareness itself dissolves darkness. For elimination of seeds of kleshas, deeper practice is needed. Self-inquiry. Who am I really? Meditation on the nature of consciousness. Gradual insight that you're not body, not mind, but pure awareness. This insight is not intellectual. It's direct experience. Here's a practice for working with kleshas. When you feel a strong emotion, desire, aversion, fear, stop. Don't act impulsively. Sit, close eyes. Feel the emotion in body. Where does it live? In chest? In belly? In throat? How does it feel? Warmth, cold, tightness, pressure. just be with it. Breathe into it. Don't try to change or drive away. Just be present. Often you'll find that the emotion begins to melt under the beam of attention. Not because you fought it, but because you gave it space to be. Emotions want to be acknowledged. When you acknowledge them, they fulfill their function and leave. Related to Kleshas is the concept of karma. Everyone knows this word, but few understand it correctly. Karma is not fate, not punishment for past lives. Karma simply means action. Every action leaves a trace, an imprint in consciousness. These imprints are called samskaras. Samskaras are like seeds. When you do something, you plant a seed. The seed lies in the subconscious, waiting for suitable conditions. When conditions ripen, the seed sprouts, manifests as desire, as action, as situation in life. And this new action plants new seeds. The cycle continues. For example, you got angry and yelled at a person. This action left a samskara of anger. Next time, in a similar situation, this samskara activates more easily. Anger comes faster, stronger. The pattern is reinforced. Gradually, anger becomes your second nature. But this works in the positive direction too. When you meditate, you plant a seed of peace. When you act with kindness, you plant a seed of compassion. When you practice mindfulness, you plant a seed of presence. And they also sprout, making these qualities more and more natural. Patanjali says, samskaras are of two types, those that lead to suffering and those that lead to liberation. Samskaras of attachment, anger, fear lead to suffering. Samskaras of renunciation, love, understanding lead to freedom. Yoga is conscious work with samskaras. You stop sowing negative seeds, begin sowing positive ones. You don't suppress negative emotions, but don't indulge them. You don't feed them with your attention and action. Gradually, they weaken, are exhausted, stop sprouting. There's a beautiful story. An old Indian tells his grandson, 2 wolves live in my heart. One is anger, envy, greed, pride. The other is love, kindness, humility, truth. They're constantly fighting. The grandson asks, "And which one wins?" The old man answers, the one I feed. Every moment you choose which wolf to feed, which samskara to strengthen. These are not big, dramatic decisions. These are small choices during the day to answer with kindness or irritation, to eat consciously or on autopilot, to listen fully or interrupt. Thousands of small choices form your consciousness. Is it possible to free yourself from all samskaras? Patanjali says yes, but not through struggle, through meditation, through direct seeing of the nature of mind. When you realize yourself as pure consciousness, samskaras lose power. They're still in the subconscious, but no longer control you. You're free from their dictate. This brings us to an important distinction in yoga philosophy between Purusha and Prakriti. These are two fundamental realities. Purusha is pure consciousness, unchanging witness. Prakriti is nature, matter, all that changes. Prakriti includes not only the physical world, stones, trees, bodies, but also the subtle world, thoughts, emotions, mind, everything that has qualities, that goes through changes. This is Prakriti, and that which observes all these changes, remaining unchanged, is Purusha. Imagine you're watching a movie. Scenes pass on screen, joyful, sad, exciting, boring. Scenes change, but the screen remains the same. Projector light reflects from screen, creating illusion of movement. But screen is motionless. Prakriti is the film. Purusha is the screen. Or another metaphor, Purusha is the sun. It simply shines unchangingly. Prakriti is the world illuminated by sun. Trees grow, rivers flow, people bustle. All this happens in the light of consciousness. But consciousness itself doesn't participate. It simply witnesses. Suffering arises from confusion, from mixing up. When pure consciousness identifies with changing matter, you think, I am this body that gets sick. I am this mind that suffers. I am this emotion that rages. But actually, you are consciousness in which all this happens. This doesn't mean body and mind are illusory. They're real, but they're not you. They're instruments consciousness uses to experience the world. Like an artist uses brushes. Brushes are real, but the artist is not a brush. He's the one who holds the brush. Yoga is the process of viveka, discrimination, learning to discriminate between Purusha and Prakriti, again and again asking, who am I really? Am I this thought? No, I'm the one who observes the thought. Am I this feeling? No, I'm the one who feels the feeling. Am I this sati? No, I'm the one who is aware of body. Layer by layer, you remove false identifications. This is called neti, not this, until nothing remains except pure I am. Not I am someone or something. Simply I am. Pure existence. Pure awareness. Here's a practice of discrimination. Sit quietly. Close eyes. Say to yourself, I am not body. Feel the truth of this. Body is, but you are more. Say, I am not thoughts. Thoughts come and go, but you remain. Say, I am not emotions. Emotions wash in waves, but you are the ocean under waves. Say, I am pure consciousness. Feel this. Rest in this. This is not a mental exercise. This is direct pointing to your true nature. At first, these will be just words. But with practice comes a glimpse. For a second, you see, yes, I'm not the content of consciousness. I am consciousness itself. This glimpse transforms. Even a second of direct seeing is worth years of study. When discrimination becomes constant, Kaivalya arrives. Absolute freedom. You live in the world, but not of the world. You act, but know it's Prakriti acting through these hands, through this mind. Purusha simply witnesses, free, untainted, eternal. On the path to this freedom, interesting things happen. When mind becomes one-pointed, when Samadhi deepens, side effects appear. Patanjali devotes an entire chapter to them, which is called Vibhuti-pada, chapter on powers. Siddhis, superpowers. When mind completely concentrates on an object, it begins to penetrate its essence. Usually we skim the surface of things. We see form, but not essence. But focused mind is like a laser. It penetrates deeper. And with this penetration come unusual abilities. Patanjali lists them: knowledge of past and future, understanding the language of all beings, knowledge of past lives, reading others' thoughts, invisibility, levitation, ability to enter other bodies, control over elements of nature. The list is long and sounds fantastic. Modern people are skeptical. Levitation? Telepathy? This sounds like fiction. But what's interesting is not the abilities themselves, but Patanjali's warning. He says, these powers are obstacles on the path to higher goal. They tempt. Ego rejoices. Look how special I am. I can read minds. I can fly. And here's the trap. You started practicing yoga to free yourself from ego. But when powers come, ego swells. You get stuck in demonstrating abilities, in seeking admiration. The real goal is forgotten. You trade a diamond for glass beads. There are stories of yogis who practiced for decades, acquired siddhis, but lost the way, became fakirs in the square, showing tricks for money, wasted life on demonstrating what is essentially unimportant, because true freedom is not in ability to fly, but in freedom from the need to impress. Wise teachers, if they acquire siddhis, hide them. They live simply, inconspicuously. They don't attract attention, because they know the more noise, the more interference. Quiet life allows preservation of depth of practice. This doesn't mean abilities are bad. They're natural at a certain stage, like flowers on a tree. But the goal is not flowers, but fruit. Flowers will fall, fruit will ripen. So with siddhis, they come and go. But liberation, when achieved, remains forever. In modern life, there are also siddhis. Money, fame, power, beauty, talent. These are forces that tempt. It seems that if you acquire them, life will be full. But look at those who have all this. Many are unhappy because they chased external, forgot internal. Patanjali's Jisun: don't attach to abilities, to achievements, to specialness. They don't make you better. Your value is not in what you can do, but in who you are in depth. Pure consciousness, infinite, perfect. This always was, always will be. When you let go of chasing powers, chasing specialness, the path to Kaivalya opens. This word means aloneness, but not in the sense of isolation. This is aloneness in the sense of oneness, wholeness. You're alone because you're everything. There's no separation, no other. Kaivalya is when Purusha completely frees itself from identification with Prakriti. There's no more confusion. You clearly see, I'm not body, not mind, not personality. I am pure awareness. And this seeing is not intellectual. It's living reality of every moment. How does a liberated person live? Externally, perhaps nothing special. They can work, eat, sleep, like everyone. But inside is a radical difference. There's no suffering because there's no identification. Thoughts come, but they know. These are not my thoughts. These are mind's thoughts. Emotions agitate, but they know. These are waves on surface. I am the depth. They act in the world, but without sense of doership. Hand writes, legs walk, mouth speaks. But who's doing all this? Nature, Prakriti. They're simply the witness. Like you watch a movie from first person. The hero runs, fights, but you know you're not doing it. You're simply watching. This doesn't mean passivity or indifference. On the contrary, actions become more spontaneous, natural, effective, because there's no ego interfering. There's no fear of failure, no thirst for success. There's simply right action at right moment. Such a person is called Jivanmukta, liberated while living. They walk on earth, but abide in sky. Live in time, but are rooted in eternity. This is not abstraction, not philosophy. This is a real state to which the practice of yoga leads. Patanjali describes signs of the liberated. They have no desires because they're full, no fears because there's nothing to lose, no anger because there's no ego to offend. They abide in constant peace, constant joy, not dependent on circumstances. This sounds almost unattainable. And yes, for most people, complete liberation requires many lifetimes of practice. But each step on the path brings its fruits. You don't need to wait for the final goal to get benefits. Each meditation calms mind. Each practice of Yama and Niyama purifies life. Each moment of mindfulness brings freedom. Yoga is not a race to finish. It's a path, and the path itself is the goal. Enjoy the process. Be patient with yourself. Don't compare yourself to others. Everyone has their own pace, their own obstacles, their own insights. What's important is to keep walking, step by step. But on the path, there will be obstacles. Patanjali is honest. He lists them. 9 main ones: disease, dullness, doubt, carelessness, laziness, incontinence, false perception, inability to achieve concentration, instability in what's achieved. Disease. When body is not healthy, it's hard to meditate. Pain distracts. Weakness exhausts. Therefore, yoga includes care for body, right food, sufficient sleep, physical exercise. Healthy body is foundation for practice. Dullness. When energy is low, mind is dim. Everything seems too difficult. Don't want to practice, don't want to make effort. This can be from lack of sleep, poor diet, or simply from tamas, quality of inertia. Doubt. Maybe this doesn't work. Maybe I'm wasting time. Maybe yoga is not for me. Doubt undermines practice. It's important to distinguish healthy skepticism and destructive doubt. Healthy skepticism tests but continues to practice. Destructive doubt stops. Carelessness. When you do practice mechanically, without presence, you sit in meditation, but mind wanders. You do asanas, but think about work. Form is there, but essence is not. This is empty waste of time. Laziness. You know you need to practice, but postpone. Tomorrow, next Monday, when there's more time. But tomorrow never comes. Laziness masks itself as reasonable excuses, but essence is one: unwillingness to make effort. Incontinence. When you indulge every desire, you eat a lot, entertain yourself a lot, sleep a lot, talk a lot, energy is dispersed. Mind becomes restless. Practice requires certain discipline, certain restraint of impulses. False perception. When you take illusion for reality, you think you've achieved when you haven't. Or vice versa, you devalue real progress. Or you consider yourself special because of temporary experiences. Ego distorts perception. Inability to achieve concentration. No matter how hard you try, mind won't calm down. This is natural in the beginning. Mind is used to jumping around. It needs time to learn to be one-pointed. But if you're stuck at this stage for years, perhaps you need to change approach. Instability in what's achieved. Today, meditation was deep. Tomorrow, scattered. You practice regularly for a week, then drop for a month. Ups and downs. This is also normal, but you need to work on stability. Patanjali doesn't just list obstacles. He gives antidotes. The main thing is practice on one principle. Choose one practice and follow it. Don't jump from technique to technique. Don't constantly seek something new. Go deeper into one thing. Second antidote is cultivation of right relationships. Friendliness toward the happy, compassion toward the suffering, joy toward the virtuous, equanimity toward the wicked. This purifies heart, makes mind calm. Practice of these relationships begins with awareness. When you meet a happy person, do you notice envy? If yes, consciously cultivate joy for them. When you see someone suffering, do you notice aversion or indifference? If yes, cultivate compassion. When you meet someone who acts wrongly, do you notice judgment? If yes, cultivate equanimity, understanding. There's a meditation that helps with this. It's called Metta Bhavana, cultivation of loving kindness. Sit quietly. Imagine a person before you. Start with someone easy to love. Wish them from heart. May they be happy. May they be healthy. May they be safe. May they live with ease. Then gradually expand the circle. Wish the same to a neutral person, someone you barely know. Then to a difficult person, toward whom you have negative feelings. Then to all beings everywhere. This softens heart, dissolves barriers, creates connection with all living. Another antidote to obstacles is work with breath and senses. When mind is restless, return to breath. When senses pull outward, pull them inward. Simple techniques, but surprisingly effective. Patanjali also says, meditate on what is free from suffering, on inner light, on qualities of enlightened beings, on nature of dreams, on anything that brings peace. Don't force mind to meditate on something repulsive. Let the object of meditation attract, inspire. But most important, don't despair. Obstacles are part of the path. Everyone goes through them. Even great yogis faced doubts, laziness, diseases. The difference is not in absence of obstacles, but in attitude toward them, not as enemies, but as teachers. Each obstacle shows something. Laziness shows how strong your motivation is. Doubt shows how deep your faith is. Disease shows how you relate to body. Carelessness shows where you lose energy. Accept obstacles as feedback. Correct practice and continue. Yoga is not only for the meditation cushion. Patanjali describes high states of consciousness, but all this must enter life. Otherwise, what's the point? To sit an hour in peace, then 23 hours be reactive, irritated, unconscious? True yoga manifests in how you live, how you react to stress, how you relate to people, how you do work, how you eat, sleep, speak. Every action can be practice. Every moment is opportunity for mindfulness. Karma Yoga, yoga of action. This is when you do ordinary tasks with full attention, without attachment to results. You wash dishes, simply wash dishes, not thinking about anything. You work, invest all energy, but don't worry about evaluation. You talk, fully listen. Don't prepare answer while other is speaking. This is not easy. The habit of mind is to do everything on autopilot, thinking about something else in parallel. But you can train. Choose one action per day that you'll do fully consciously. Maybe morning shower, maybe first cup of tea, maybe commute to work. One action, but with full presence. Yama and Niyama are also not abstract rules. This is living practice. Every day gives opportunities. Colleague irritates. Practice ahimsa in thoughts. Want to eat extra? Practice brahmacharya. Saw something beautiful in store. Practice aparigraha, someone deceived. Practice satya, remaining honest yourself. Relationships are a wonderful field for practice. It's easy to be calm alone on meditation cushion, but try to maintain peace when partner criticizes. Children make noise. Parents demand attention. Here's where real practice is. People are our teachers. They show where we're not yet free. Work is another field of practice. You can approach it as drudgery, do minimum to get salary, or as service. Whatever you do, sweep floors or run company, do it as offering, not for yourself, but for higher good. This changes quality of work and quality of life. There are 3 simple practices for integrating yoga into life. First is morning intention. Waking up before getting out of bed, set intention for the day. Today, I'll practice patience, or presence, or kindness. One quality. And during day, remind yourself of this intention. Second is mindfulness. Pauses. Several times a day, stop for a minute. You can set reminder on phone. Close eyes. Take 3 deep breaths. Check. Where's your attention? Where's your body? What are your thoughts? Just notice and return to moment. These pauses are like anchors returning to presence. Third is evening reflection. Before sleep, remember the day. Don't judge, just observe. When was I mindful today? When did I lose mindfulness? What triggered reaction? Where was joy? Where was difficulty? 5 minutes of such reflection teaches more than hours of reading. Yoga becomes a way of life, not a hobby. Not what you do an hour a day, but how you live all 24 hours. And then life becomes meditation. Work becomes meditation. Relationships become meditation. Everything becomes path. But you need support. It's hard to go alone. In ancient times, student went to teacher, lived nearby for years, absorbed not only knowledge, but teacher's very presence. Transmission happened not so much through words as through being near. In modern world traditional, Guru Shishya Parampara, teacher-student chain, is less accessible. But the principle remains. Find someone who's gone further than you on the path, not necessarily an enlightened master, simply someone more experienced who can guide, inspire, support. Teacher is not one who knows everything. Teacher is one who is sincere on the path, who lives what they teach, who sees you and helps you see yourself. Good teacher doesn't create dependence. They lead you to your inner teacher. Because the true guru is within. External teacher is a finger pointing at moon. But moon is your own awakened consciousness. External teacher helps find the road. But you must walk yourself. You must realize yourself. No one can meditate for you, can't be liberated for you. Be grateful to teachers, those who taught you in this life, those who taught in past lives, if you believe in them, and to the whole chain of transmission, from Patanjali and even earlier, from nameless sages who first sat in silence and began to explore mind. We're heirs of a huge tradition. We preserve it by practicing. Patanjali's Yoga Sutras are living heritage. The text was written thousands of years ago, but it hasn't become outdated. Moreover, modern science is beginning to confirm what ancient yogis knew intuitively. Neuroscience shows that meditation physically changes brain, increases density of gray matter in areas connected with attention, emotional regulation, self-awareness, decreases activity of amygdala, center of fear. This is not esoterics. These are measurable changes. Psychology recognizes importance of mindfulness for mental health. Mindfulness-based therapies help with depression, anxiety, chronic pain. What Patanjali called Chitta-vritti-nirodha, calming of mind, modern psychology calls metacognitive awareness, ability to observe your thoughts without getting involved. Physiology discovers connection between breath and nervous system. Slow, deep breathing activates parasympathetic system, rest system. This is what yogis practiced in pranayama. They didn't know about vagus nerve, but knew control breath, control mind. Yoga is becoming a bridge between ancient wisdom and modern science, between East and West, between spiritual and practical. It shows there's no contradiction. Science studies how. Yoga gives why. Together they're complete. But you don't need to wait until science proves everything. Yoga has always said, don't believe blindly, test yourself. Patanjali doesn't ask to believe his words. He offers an experiment. Try to practice. See what happens. You yourself are the laboratory. Your consciousness is object of research. Today, yoga is accessible like never before. Books, videos, apps, teachers online. You can start practicing right now, wherever you are. Don't need to go to India. Don't need to leave the world. Yoga comes to you. But ease of access creates a problem. Yoga becomes commodity, sold as fitness, as way to relax, as fashionable trend. Nothing wrong with this. Let people come to yoga by any paths. But it's important to remember depth. Behind asanas is philosophy. Behind relaxation is transformation. Behind fashion is eternal truth. Your task, if yoga has touched you, is to deepen. Don't stop at surface. Read sutras, reflect on them, apply in life. Find teachers who lead into depth, not just entertain. Practice regularly, not when convenient, but as necessity. Patanjali doesn't guarantee easy path. He's honest. It requires effort, time, devotion. But he promises what's worth any effort. Liberation from suffering. Discovery of true nature. Life in peace, joy, love, regardless of external circumstances. This doesn't mean external circumstances don't matter. They matter. Work to improve life, yours and others. But don't make happiness dependent on external. Have source of joy inside. Then everything that comes from outside is addition, not necessity. Everyone is at their own stage of path. Someone just heard about yoga. Someone practices for years. Someone is close to realization. Don't compare yourself to others. Don't envy the advanced. Don't look down on beginners. Everyone walks at their own pace. What's important is to walk. There will be lulls. There will be days, weeks when you don't practice. This is normal. Don't blame yourself. Simply start again. Again and again. The path of yoga is not a straight line. It's a spiral. Sometimes it seems you're returning to same place, but actually you're a level higher. There will be moments of insight, when everything suddenly becomes clear. Use these moments as fuel. Remember them when it's dark, but don't cling to them. They too will pass. Real transformation is not in peak experiences, but in changing basic level of consciousness. There will be moments of doubt when it seems all this is meaningless. Why meditate when there are so many problems in world? Why sit with closed eyes when you need to act? But remember, most powerful action comes from peace, from inner clarity. Practice is not escape from world. It's preparation for more effective presence in world. Patanjali's yoga is science and art simultaneously. Science because it's systematic, testable, universal. Art because it requires creativity, intuition, individual expression. Follow the map, but don't forget to listen to your heart. Apply techniques, but adapt them to yourself. Respect tradition, but live modernity. These ancient teachings continue to live because they work. Generation after generation, practitioners discover truth of sutras in their experience. You're part of this chain. Your practice adds to collective wisdom. Your awakening makes world a bit brighter. Start small. 5 minutes of meditation in morning. 1 mindful meal per day. 1 act of kindness without expectation. Small seeds planted regularly grow into mighty tree. You don't need heroic efforts. You need consistency and sincerity. Remember, yoga is not about perfection. It's about progress, not about becoming someone else, but about remembering who you really are. Under layers of conditioning, fear, desire is your true nature. Pure, free, shining. Yoga removes layers, opens what always was. So may this ancient wisdom of Patanjali illuminate your path. May practice bring peace to your mind and joy to your heart. May you find the freedom you seek, not somewhere far away, but in the depth of your own being. And now, let go of everything you've heard. Let words dissolve. Let only silence remain, from which they came and to which they return. Allow body to relax completely. Allow breath to flow naturally. Allow mind to calm like a lake after storm. You are pure consciousness. Always were, always will be. Rest in this knowing. Rest in yourself. Good night, dear traveler. May your dreams be light, and your awakening into truth. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace.